All right, so we got a massive match coming up on Sunday. Arsenal versus Manchester United at Old Trafford.
The Theater of Dreams.
That's right, the Theater of Dreams. And we're talking title hopes on the line, historic rivalries, and maybe even a few surprises. To get you ready, we've compiled previews and predictions from some of the best out there. Goal.com, The Independent, and The Standard. Think of this deep dive as your secret weapon to sound like the most informed fan at the watch party.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about this matchup is the contrast between these two clubs.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Arsenal playing some beautiful football, sitting at the top of the table.
Right.
And then you have Manchester United. Well, let's just say they're having a historically rough season.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. We know Arsenal's aiming for the title, but just how bad is it for Manchester United?
I mean, we're not just talking about a little dip in form here.
Right.
This is officially Manchester United's worst season ever in the Premier League. Lowest number of goals scored in a campaign, languishing in 14th place. It's uncharted territory for a club of their stature.
Wow, that's rough. But doesn't history tell us that Manchester United often punches above its weight against the top teams? I seem to recall a certain FA Cup upset earlier this year.
You're absolutely right. We can't ignore the fact that Manchester United knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup earlier this year. And they did it with 10 men on the pitch after a red card.
Yeah.
So, while they're down, you definitely can't count them out in a big match like this.
Especially at Old Trafford. Okay, so we've got this clash of high-flying Arsenal and a struggling yet historically dangerous Manchester United. But there's another layer to this, right? Arsenal's injury list is no joke.
It's true. Losing key players like Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, and Havertz all at once, would disrupt any team's rhythm, especially when they're the heart of your attack.
Yeah, and it's forced Arteta to adapt, bringing in players like Marino, who might not have expected such a prominent role this early in the season. But let's flip the script for a second and talk about Manchester United's struggles. Their attack has been seriously lacking this season. What's going on there?
Well, their goals per game average is the lowest it's ever been in the Premier League. The manager seems to be having a real tough time finding the right formula, a right combination of players to get that attack firing.
And to make matters worse, they're facing an Arsenal side known for its almost impenetrable defense.
Yes, Arsenal's defense has been rock solid. But here's where it gets really interesting. Historically, Manchester United has done quite well against teams that like to dominate possession.
Yeah.
They absorb the pressure, stay compact, and then hit on the counter.
So you're saying that even though Arsenal's defense is strong, Manchester United might be uniquely equipped to break them down?
It's definitely possible. And that makes looking at the predicted lineups even more intriguing.
Oh.
We might see some unexpected names on the pitch, like young Ethan Naumiri for Arsenal, who just scored in midweek.
A 17-year-old scoring in the Champions League. That's incredible.
It is. And then there are rumors that Chido Obi, a former Arsenal youth player, might actually feature for Manchester United. Imagine the storyline if he scores the winning goal against his old club.
Okay, now, that would be some serious drama. So we've got contrasting form, historical quirks, a potential revenge narrative, and some young talent to watch out for. But let's get down to brass tacks. What are the experts actually predicting for this match?
Well, most are leaning towards an Arsenal win, which isn't surprising given their form, and Manchester United's struggles. Goal.com even went so far as to predict a 1-0 Arsenal victory, highlighting their defensive strength.
So a tight, low-scoring affair. That sounds familiar when these two teams meet.
Right. But almost every preview also emphasizes that this match could be a lot closer than people think. Manchester United has a knack for rising to the occasion, especially against the top teams. So while a 1-0 Arsenal win seems like the most likely outcome, you can't completely rule out a draw or even a surprise Manchester United victory. Remember, they love playing the underdog role.
This is what makes the Premier League so unpredictable, right? So much can happen on any given day. But before we get too caught up in predictions, I think it's important to dig deeper into some of the tactical nuances that might decide this match.
Absolutely. For example, how will Arsenal's attack, which is already missing some key players, deal with a potentially very compact and organized Manchester United defense?
And on the flip side, how will Manchester United's attack, which has struggled all season, find a way to penetrate Arsenal's seemingly impenetrable defense?
These are the questions we'll be exploring next. It's actually fascinating to see how Arsenal has turned things around in recent years.
Yeah.
If you look back at the historical head-to-head between these two clubs, it's overwhelmingly in Manchester United's favor, over 100 wins to Arsenal's 89 with 50 draws. But lately, that dominance is completely faded.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, Arsenal has won 3 of their last 4 Premier League matches against Manchester United. Goal.com even pointed out that they're on the verge of making history. They could become the first team ever to beat Manchester United 5 consecutive times in the Premier League.
Yeah, it really shows you how the balance of power can shift so quickly in football. Dynasties rise and fall, and right now it feels like Arsenal's in the ascendancy while Manchester United is searching for its identity.
And it's not just about league position, is it? The style of play has evolved so much.
Absolutely. There's been a clear shift toward a more possession-based attacking style of football, exemplified by teams like Arsenal and, of course, Manchester City. Manchester United, on the other hand, seems to be caught between that modern approach and a more pragmatic counterattacking style.
Right, and this match could be a real clash of those philosophies. You've got Arsenal, known for their fluid passing and intricate build-up play, going up against a Manchester United side that might be more content to absorb pressure and hit on the break. It makes predicting this match even more difficult because it might come down to which manager's tactical approach wins out on the day.
Exactly. And we can't forget the psychological aspect. As we mentioned earlier, Manchester United has a history of exceeding expectations in big games. That FA Cup victory over Arsenal, even with a man down, is a perfect example of that.
I see what you're saying. Even though Arsenal is the clear favorite on paper, there's a certain resilience, a fighting spirit in Manchester United that can emerge when their backs are against the wall.
Right? Especially in a rivalry like this where emotions run high.
Yeah.
Speaking of Arsenal, you mentioned their injury issues earlier. How much of an impact do you think that will have on their performance?
It's definitely a concern. Losing players like Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli is a huge blow to any team's attack. They are creative dynamos. The Standard even pointed out that Arsenal could be a whopping 16 points behind Liverpool by the time this match kicks off if the Reds win their game. It just goes to show how crucial every single point is from here on out for Arsenal if they want to stay in the title race.
Exactly. There's no margin for error. It's almost like every match is a must-win now. So let's look at those predicted lineups. What stands out to you?
Well, Goal.com predicted a 1-0 Arsenal win, and they specifically highlighted their defense as the key factor. Remember, they've only conceded 23 goals in 27 Premier League matches this season, which is incredibly impressive.
It really is. It all starts with their backline. Timbers, Saliba, Gabriel. They're all top-class defenders. And then you add in the defensive midfielders, Partey and Rice, shielding the back four. It's a very formidable unit, and that's why I think that 1-0 prediction from Goal.com might be spot on.
Especially when you consider Manchester United's scoring woes, they're on track for their lowest ever goal tally in a Premier League season. But I wonder, could this be the match where they finally break out? We've got some intriguing players on both sides who could make a real difference. What about Ethan Nwaneri for Arsenal, the 17-year-old sensation who's been lighting up the Champions League? Could we see him get some minutes in this crucial game?
It wouldn't be a surprise to see Arteta give him a chance, especially with those attacking injuries. He's a fearless player, and he could inject some much-needed energy into Arsenal's attack.
And on the Manchester United side, there's a chance we could see Chido Obi, the former Arsenal youth player. That adds a whole other layer of intrigue to the match.
Absolutely. Okay. Imagine the storyline if he scores the winning goal against his former club. These young players bring a certain level of unpredictability that you just can't get from seasoned veterans. It's exciting to see them get opportunities in high-stakes games like this.
It's what makes this rivalry so compelling, right? You've got the history, the tactical battles, the individual brilliance of the players. You never know what to expect.
I couldn't agree more. But, there's one thing we haven't touched on yet that I think is crucial in a match like this, the managers.
Ah, yes. Mikel Arteta versus Ruben Amorim. Two incredibly sharp minds, each with a distinctive approach to the game.
It's almost like a chess match.
Yeah.
Each manager is trying to outmaneuver the other, searching for any little advantage that could swing the game in their favor. Arteta, the young prodigy who's built this Arsenal team into a title contender, facing off against Amorim, the seasoned tactician, known for his tactical flexibility and his ability to get the best out of his players. It's a fascinating dynamic.
And it's not just about tactics, right? It's about man management, motivation, and inspiring your players to reach their full potential on the biggest stage. We've covered a lot of ground here, the contrasting styles, the historical significance, the key players, and the tactical intrigue. I feel like I'm starting to see this match in a whole new light. But before we get to our final predictions, what are some of the biggest questions that are still lingering in your mind?
Well, for me, it comes back to Arsenal's attack. How will they cope with the absence of so many key players? Can they unlock a Manchester United defense that's likely to be very organized and compact? And will they be able to convert their possession into goals?
Those are great questions. And on the flip side, I'm curious to see how Manchester United will approach this match. Will they sit back and absorb pressure, hoping to catch Arsenal on the break? Or will they try to be more proactive, taking the game to Arsenal?
Yeah, let's not forget about those young players. Will Nwaneri get a chance to shine for Arsenal? Will Obi come back to haunt his former club?
So many possibilities, so many storylines. This is why we love the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
Every match has the potential to be an epic drama.
Absolutely. And this match, with all its layers and complexities, is shaping up to be a classic. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's dive into the expert predictions and see what they have to say about the final outcome.
Okay, so we've really dissected the narratives here, analyzed these potential tactical battles, even dove into the individual player matchups. As we wrap up this deep dive into Arsenal versus Manchester United, let's revisit those predictions. Remember that tempting 1-0 scoreline that Goal.com put forward? It seems simple on the surface, but, I think it speaks volumes about how this match might actually play out.
Yeah, I agree. While it might seem like a pretty straightforward prediction, that 1-0 scoreline actually reveals a lot about the potential flow of the game.
Yeah.
It emphasizes Arsenal's defensive dominance as the decisive factor, and rightfully so. Their record speaks for itself, only 23 goals conceded all season, even against some of the league's most potent attacks.
Right, that back four of Timber, Saliba, and Gabriel is a wall. And then you factor in Partey and Rice shielding them in midfield. It's no wonder teams find it so difficult to break them down. So you think Manchester United, even with that home advantage at Old Trafford, is going to struggle to find the back of the net?
It's going to be a tough ask, that's for sure. But here's where Manchester United's manager, Ruben Amorim, might have a trick up his sleeve. He's known for his tactical flexibility, his ability to adapt his game plan to exploit the opponent's weaknesses. One thing we've noticed is that even with their strong defense, Arsenal has struggled to score goals consistently, particularly with those key attacking injuries.
So are you thinking Manchester United might sit deeply, absorb that pressure, and then try to hit Arsenal on the counterattack?
Precisely. They've got the players for it, too. Garnacho and Hodgson both possess incredible pace and directness. If they can get in behind Arsenal's defense, they could be very dangerous.
That makes sense, but if Manchester United focuses too much on defending, will they be able to create enough chances of their own to actually win the game?
That's the big question, isn't it? And that's precisely why that 1-0 prediction stands out. It suggests a very tight, cagey affair with very few clear-cut opportunities for either side. I would be surprised if this turns into a real tactical chess match.
So imagine this: Arsenal dominates possession, but Manchester United stays compact and disciplined. Every attacking move is met with fierce resistance. Arsenal has to be patient, precise, and clinical in the final third if they want to break through that stubborn Manchester United defense.
Exactly. And if Arsenal can nick an early goal, it could completely change the dynamic of the match. Manchester United would be forced to come out of their shell, leaving more space for Arsenal's creative players to exploit. But on the flip side, if Manchester United can weather that early storm and frustrate Arsenal, they might just be able to snatch a goal on the counterattack and steal the win.
It's a classic clash of styles: attack versus defense possession versus counterattack. Arteta's meticulous planning against Amorim's tactical flexibility. The outcome could really hinge on which manager outwits the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the individual battles that'll be taking place all over the pitch. Those could be just as decisive.
Right. Those head-to-head matchups could make all the difference. I'm particularly interested in seeing the midfield battle between Arsenal's Thomas Partey and Manchester United's Bruno Fernandes Partey, the anchor of that Arsenal midfield, known for his strength, athleticism, and ability to break up play. He'll have his hands full trying to contain Fernandes, the creative engine for Manchester United.
Oh, absolutely. Fernandes is the one who can unlock defenses with a pinpoint pass or a moment of individual brilliance. That battle in midfield is going to be crucial in determining which team controls the tempo of the game. And then you've got that potential clash of, young stars. Could we see Ethan Nwaneri, the 17-year-old Arsenal wonder kid, get some minutes in this high-pressure match?
Yeah.
And will he be facing off against Chido Obi, the former Arsenal youth player, now trying to make his mark at Manchester United?
It would be quite a story if those two ended up playing key roles in deciding this game.
Right. It just adds another layer of intrigue to this already captivating rivalry. I think you've summed it up perfectly. This match has it all. History, tactics, individual brilliance, and a whole lot of unpredictable drama.
So as you settle in to watch this match, remember everything we've talked about today. Don't just passively watch the game. Observe it, analyze it, Think about the decisions the managers are making, the individual battles that are unfolding all over the pitch, and how those moments of brilliance or mistakes can shift the momentum.
Exactly, because when you understand the game at a deeper level, when you see all those layers of complexity, it becomes so much more than just 22 players kicking a ball around a field.
It transforms into a tactical battle, a psychological showdown, a story of individual triumphs and heartbreaks. It's a spectacle, a drama that unfolds right before your eyes.
And that, my friend, is what makes football the beautiful game so utterly captivating.
So enjoy the match, and may the best team win.